Last week, we talked about Lost Origin and the recent reprint that it received in July, and how that reprint affected the singles market. Well, Silver Tempest received a similar reprint here recently in July, so today we're going to talk about that set and see how the singles are holding up. So as I just mentioned, Lost Origin singles weren't really impacted quite as much as I anticipated the last month. Now, I think that it takes a little bit looking back. I should have probably waited a little bit longer to do that video, and only because a month's data, maybe isn't enough because these cards are still being pumped out and, cards are being sold on there, and so many have been sold on there that it might take a little bit to start affecting the actual market price for the cards. Because I look back and Giratina was down a little bit actually compared to what it was in our video. Now this one, it has been about a month for the Silver Tempest reprint as well. And we're going to go ahead and have a look at the top 5 cards of this set and see how these ones were impacted. So let's first have a look at the Regidrago V Alt Art. As of July 22nd, this price was at a $19.60 market value on TCG Player. All these are pulled from TCG Player. I should have said that. This is a super cool card, and I never actually looked at closely because Regidrago's not high on my list as far as Pokemon that I collect. But looking at this now and actually, zooming in and seeing this artwork, it's actually super cool with Lugia flying in the background and kind of a darker looking image of Regidrago there hiding in some rubble. So I feel like this card is one that I'm going to actually personally pick up, especially if this price keeps falling. And I do believe it will because as of yesterday, August 20th, it was down a little bit at $18.47. Now, the recent sold actually were in the $13 range. Near mints available right now are right around $17. So I do anticipate this one maybe fluctuating a little bit more because people are still opening this stuff. So I think that this one at $15, if I see it, I'm snagging it. All right, moving along to our next card here that we're going to have a look at is the Unknown V Alt Art. This one was really high on my list whenever I saw it drop in Japanese. And then it came to English and it was like a $50 card. And I was like, I don't know if I want to spend that much because I was buying so many other cards and products to open and sealed product and just so many things. So it kind of went on the back burner for me. But this artwork is super cool, like the ancient looking city, and the unknowns floating around. Just always thought this was a neat one. And I'm glad that it actually dropped because I just picked this one up the other day for around $22, $23 at my LGS. So if we look at July 22nd, it was at a $24.18 market price. This one was impacted a little bit by the reprint, I should say. As of August 20th, it was down to $23.90. And I do think it's going to fluctuate again, just like I said with the other ones. There's product being open, every day consistently. So I can see this one fluctuating a couple more dollars. You may be able to get this one for 20-ish. I'd be surprised if it goes down to 15. If it does, awesome, because I know a lot of collectors want this one still. But I would say this is, pretty good price range, 20, $25. I was happy to pick it up whenever I did, and hopefully you're able to get your hands on it. But this is one to definitely watch if you do want this one. And next up, we have the Lugia V-Star Secret. Now, this is the Rainbow Secret. The Gold Secret, and I'll bite my tongue on this one because I kept saying nobody wants rainbows. In the last 2 sets we've looked at, the Rainbow version was higher than the Gold version. So people want to play this one in their deck. They want to bling it out. I get it. And that was the same thing, with the Giratina one that we just previously mentioned. The gold one didn't even make the list, actually. So, and I think I touched on this too. The Aerodactyl V-Star that we talked about was the first one that, we looked at, and I brought up that I do think the rainbow looks really good with the V-Stars, kind of a little swirly light thing in the bottom by the ability. I think that really pops. So maybe people are kind of coming around to the rainbows with the V-Stars, and they look cool in the decks. And of course, Lugia is great in competitive play. I saw a list just come out from Justin Basil, and I don't remember what. I think Lugia was on there still. It's a single prize deck, but it's still being played. So this card, this is a funny one actually. July 22nd, it was at a $28.95 market price, and August 20th, about a month later, it's at a $28.95 market price. So no shock there. Lugia is still being played and people want to bling it out. They don't just want the regular Lugia V-Star. They want the rainbow, and I think the gold was maybe 17-ish, if I recall correctly. So yeah, this one didn't budge much. The reprint did not affect it at all, just because I think it is such a playable card. And now we are to one of my favorite trainer cards from the Sword and Shield era. I'm going to be discussing this one more in depth in the next video that I do, where I talk about some trainers that I feel that you should invest in for the Sword and Shield era. Serena is high up there, and honestly, I bought quite a few of these at the July 22nd market price, $35.50, and I bought quite a few of these between the $35-$40 range, because when this one came out, kind of same thing that we talked about with Unknown. It was around 50-ish, and then it went down a little bit, but it stayed within the $35-$40 range for a long time. And I felt like, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen. Scarlet and Violet's out. We'll probably get a reprint, but I didn't know for sure. So I was buying them up. I thought, $35-$40, still an affordable card, and holding that kind of value. And it is good in competitive play. So we are seeing quite a few of these being played. So I think that probably plays into the price. But popularity of Serena, one of the most popular female trainers in all of Pokemon. So no surprise that, this one was still up there for the longest time. As I said, $35.50 back July 22nd. And then after the reprint and some of these started getting pushed out more, and people trying to make a buck, on TCG players, should say quick buck, undercutting each other, we're down to $30.08. Now, some near mints for under 30 are available actually on TCG Player. If you can get this at the $25 range, that would be an absolute steal. And I did notice too, there are 102 of these listed, and there weren't that many, obviously, prior to the reprint. So it held strong. Everybody held strong on their pricing. So this one could come down a little more. I did buy quite a few of them. I sent some into PSA. As I said, we'll talk about this later on in the next video. But yeah, this one dropped about $5. And if it keeps dropping, this is going to be one that I feel like you should get sooner than later, because I think a lot of people are going to be like $25 now for Serena. Gotta have it. And finally, the big boy on the list, Lugia V Alt Art. This one I've been wanting to pick up for a really long time. Hovered around the $200 range, came down a little bit to $175, $180. Still wasn't quite comfortable with that, just because I didn't know what was going to happen as far as a reprint. And I buy so many other cards, and I just didn't really know what price point was, the comfort. Was it within my comfort level for this one? And looking back, July 22nd, about a month ago, it was $150.09. Now, that was still not terrible. And I thought that it actually was a little higher than that back then. And it actually dropped quite a bit. August 20th here at a price point of $138.03. So this one went down about $12. And I'll be curious to see if it's going to drop a little bit more, because some of the old arts are not doing well in the Sword and Shield era. If you've looked back, the Charizard V was not, holding very strong. So if this one drops more, I definitely want to pick it up. I know a lot of people were kind of iffy on the artwork at first. It grew on me when I first saw it. I was like, they could have maybe done something cooler, maybe a little more colorful. But then I was like, no, it fits the darker Lugia that lives in the ocean, and the sailor on the boat there. And it's just, I don't know. It grew on me, and now I really want this one, and I will pick this one up eventually here, especially if it keeps dropping. $135.99 and $131 were the most recent near mints sold. And it looks like that about $140 for near mints that are still available, but there are only 55 listings. So this is one, again, to keep an eye on. It did drop some. Is it going to drop more? I'm not sure. Is it worth $138? Maybe $130 range, somewhere around there, $130, $140. I think long term it will be. We'll see what happens with these old arts. I know Sword and Shield has Pokemon has printed a ton of Sword and Shield era cards, but they're so beautiful that demand is way up. And that could change things, because you see some of the older cards, they are super cool, and, collectors going back and picking them up. But at the time, the demand wasn't there. They didn't print quite as many, maybe, but I feel like Sword Shield era, and a buddy of mine talked about this, it's at its peak as far as artwork goes. So demand is always going to be there, I feel like. As long as people are collecting Pokemon cards, demand is always going to be there. Still kind of unsure about some of these dipping down, but it could just be reprints, people focusing on, the newer sets. I mean, I know we're talking about the reprint for this one. I know why this one dipped. I'm talking about, the Charizard V for Brilliant Stars and some of the other ones that were dropping that were a little bit of a surprise. I don't see that being a trend long term, though, because as I said, demand is there and people will circle back around, especially, when we're passing up different sets like Obsidian Flames we talked about, passing up a little bit and people focusing on 151. So people are going to go back to these probably like they did with the Sun and Moon Tag Team Alt Arts, and they're going to, go through the moon and we're going to be like, why did we not pick it up for 135? That was a steal. As always, thank you guys so much for listening. I love talking Pokemon, so hopefully you're enjoying these new videos. I will be doing some openings here and there, but I feel like that I could talk about the investment side of things all the time. So you're going to be seeing a lot more videos like this one, and be on the lookout for the next one. We're going to talk about full art trainers.